in the US, you're on the verge of another government shutdown because of funding. And the only person who is able to call for either the elimination of the debt ceiling or minting the coin. I mean, if he mints the coin, then I must have talked to the fucking monkey's paw pension fund.
Yes.
But Trump
Come
has
on,
said,
Biden, do it.
Trump himself has said, the debt ceiling is stupid. It's dumb that we do this circus every 4 years. We shouldn't bother with it.
Yeah, area man allowed to say the obvious thing.
I would love a big coin. How big can the coin be?
That's what we said. It should have him on it.
Yeah.
He would love that.
Yeah, it's going to be like the Sudbury giant nickel or whatever, but it's
They have a giant nickel in Sudbury. Make mine twice as big.
The Canadian nickel, they say it's very big. We're going to make a bigger one, folks, that you can hear like screaming in the background.
Much like the stimulus checks, right? Another extremely obvious idea that he was able to turn to his benefit. It will then ensure, like 6 terms of Trump. Instantly, you just like overrides the Constitution. You're just stuck with a bastard forever, purely because American median voter thinks, oh, it's pretty cool. He's got a giant coin. The last guy didn't have a giant coin. He was just old.
It's going to be twice as big as the Sudbury nickel and worth twice as much.
That's right. It's pretty easy due to the exchange rate.
Yeah. The Sudbury nickel. I say, what do you mean? The Sudbury 3 pennies.
We're going to balance it on top of the Washington Monument.
Who wants to see me put the Sudbury nickel in this gigantic McDonald's coin spinner?
The U.S. invading Canada just to do that.
It's on his inauguration announcing Canada's the 51st state. He's just like, and we're going to seal the deal by putting the Sudbury nickel into a big coin crusher.
Look, I don't want to seem too mean about the Canadians. You know, their giant nickel is pathetic, but let's face it, if the British had a giant nickel, it would just be in the Canadian Teachers Pension Fund.
Just looking over at Canada. Why are they playing with our nickel?
Yeah.
Stop it.
That's our nickel.
We don't even call it that. It's a 20p piece. It's octagonal.
I'm going to make Britain a giant pound.
Yeah.
It's worth more than the nickel. And that's how we're going to invest in our future.
For all the XL bullies.
Yeah. So anyway, so this is not really about like water. Like partly, yes, this is about water, right? But the high politics of it all is that this is again like continuing to be the Parliament of Farage, right? Where everyone's talking about the stuff Farage cares about, and Farage is the only one who's allowed to set an agenda that's anything other than the agenda that was preset coming into the Parliament.
It's so annoying that he's playing this entire institution like a fiddle, and then part of the reason why he's able to do that is that he doesn't even like it. Like, I understand why, and like obviously it's not worth respecting Parliament as an institution, but like just on a personal level, it's unsatisfying that he's not even enjoying being able to fuck them all over like this.
Yeah. Well, it's that he ultimately, right? It's I like the metaphor I've used before, but it's like if you're playing a high stakes game of chess against someone, and while you're figuring out your next move, they're robbing your house, right? That's what.
Well, I mean, I'm playing the long game because their elo rating is going to get fucked by this over a few games. I might not have anything left in my house, but I think we know who the real winner is morally.
And, it's interesting, I think, to see people like, the news agents, like Emily Maitlis and Lewis Goodall and whoever the third one is.
They should have a rotating third chair who's just like a guy who runs a news agent.
Yeah, an actual news agent.
Yeah, just like an elderly South Asian man just puts in it. Probably the most sensible opinion on the whole show.
You get drafted into it the same way you do as building Sam Altman's data center. You see the QR code on the beer mat and you're like, I have to go be on the fucking news. It's like jury duty. You can get out of it.
I took Mateless giant nickel.
Oh God, is this Starmer's Bitcoin or Mateless's nickel? It's mine.
You've got to come on now.
We're talking about it should be Ruth Wilson is the third chair on the news agents doing the Mateless voice. Can we give it to you, Emily? Use the voice. Give me the water. Sorry. That's like one of the most fun moments I've had watching a movie for this show ever.
Oh, yeah. Just the kind of like building incomprehension of why is she talking like that?
The BBC guesserette.
I really need them to make a third Prince Andrew movie. Anyway. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're going to get it back on. We got to get Mateless back on the case to ask about this Chinese spy.
Yeah, that's right.
So the news, so Mateless and Goodall have discovered suddenly being worried about money in politics because Elon Musk and Nigel Farage are intelligible to people who are big news heads, but don't really care about anything other than just like the game, who's in, who's out, who's up, who's down, what's in the headlines. And, you know, and these are also people who are singularly
Westminster Village shit, which also used to be somewhere you could go to get away from gambling debts.
But these are also people who are singularly uninterested in any of the lobbying bonanza that happened with labor. People who are like, what's quadrature? Why do I care? You know, who cares if they're like, if this asset manager with a like climate research division is basically buying its way onto like the climate change committee. We don't care about that. We don't care that Keir Starmer's doing kinds of kindness without Wahid Ali. But now that Elon Musk is saying, I'm going to come in and put money into politics in a way that, because he's, you know, continuing to meet with Nigel Farage now, making more noises about donating to reform, is now they're saying, oh my God, how did it come to this? Ministers are asleep at the possibility that our democracy is for sale, to which I have to say, too late, you missed it. It isn't for sale anymore. It's already sold. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's already
owned by the Canadian teachers.
Yeah, the Canadian teachers already own it.
Yeah. It's in the pocket of Big Teacher.
That's like the politics of being for sale, right? That allows Thames Water to get like this because the politics of actually doing something about it, right? Which requires energizing people with like material improvements that you can make to their lives, right?
Sounds too hard. I don't want to do that one.
Yeah, that was ruled out. That was ruled out as a possibility by people like, you know, Mateless and Goodall, among others.
Well, the good news is the British state can't be for sale because it doesn't have any assets left. So no one would buy it.
It's got some embassies.
Oh, yeah,
because like not selling all this stuff off was, as we recall, like Jeremy Corbyn's mad Hamas jam-based fever dream.
Not selling it off or not buying it, or also having the kind of politically engaged population that understands what electoral politics or democracy is actually good for, right? Because a lot of people are like, well, electoral politics and democracy, let me think. What's that done for me lately?
Well, I mean, this is also the kind of problem with this, and, you know, implicates Farage and everyone else, is if you just don't tell people anything and expect them, you know, and sort of like actively discourage them from learning anything, and what they get from this is, oh, my water bills are going up again and the rivers are full of shit, and you just put that in a box, right, and you just leave that to simmer for a while, and the only person who's thinking about that is Nigel Farage, basically, or like, you know, the left, such as it is, then I don't think you can be surprised when you as a kind of like institutional liberal are like swept out of office by Nigel Farage at the head of his like shit hordes.
Yeah, well, precisely. You know, and it's also like the Farage-Musk big money alliance, whatever it turns out to be, if it turns out to be anything, these are mercurial men.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a chance that Elon Musk does too much of whatever he does that makes him post, you know, manically, hits his head on the corner of a table, and we just don't have to worry about it anymore. There's always a chance.
Yeah, then it's going to be like a kind of Scrabble between like Andreessen, Sachs, Kalkanis, just to see who's going to be the next one. But the Farage-Musk meetup, it's a creature of the long-term agreement between all the parties and all the papers and all the think tanks that the engine of reaction is good and is useful to get and hold people's attention without having to promise them anything. You just have to make sure that a sensible person is revving it, whether that is Theresa May, whether that is like Rishi Sunak, even Boris Johnson, right? The worry was, we have an insufficiently sensible person revving the engine of reaction now, you know, and they're all doing the same thing in the same direction. You know, and this is the story of the last 15 years really is a story of the journey of Nigel Farage to the center of British politics. You could argue he's been basically setting the agenda ever since the fucking Gordon Brown made the Gillian Duffy comment. You know, it's a bit it's glib to say that. It's not, you know, actually right, but like he's been setting the agenda for the last 14 years. And the funniest thing, right, is that conservative shadow business minister Andrew Griffith has similarly and separately
Minister for shadow business
urged, listen to this, Elon Musk to take another look at the Tories before donating £100 million to Reform UK, highlighting his parties.
Please don't text him back.
Yeah, we could be sluts for you too. We could do all the stuff you like. I'm sorry that our relationship got stale.
Highlighting his party's low low tax and anti-woke credentials.
Anti-woke credentials.
It is really, really funny, right? And it couldn't have happened to a nicer group of people that Kemi Badenoch and all of her other like horrors won the Tory leadership election on the promise of being the most anti-woke, you know, the sort of like least considerate, most evil Tories there have ever been, and then immediately get sat down in the cuck chair by Elon Musk giving like infinity trillion quid to Nigel Farage because he thinks it's a laugh.